Hey, everybody. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia, episode number 35. And if you want to learn how to take the most advantage of every second of every day and do it through leveraging systems and processes and grow, then you're going to want to stay tuned here till the very end. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia, and in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast. All right. What's going on, Tricia? How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I am great as well. Thank you for jumping on. I'm super pumped to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And I love the background. I just realized that as we were talking before, driven by passion, inspired. What does the last part of that say?
Inspired by people.
I love it. it.
And I created that when I first opened my brokerage. And so I've just continued it on because it's the truth. That's what drives me.
I love it. Well, so for everyone who doesn't know a little bit about you, tell everyone just a little bit about yourself and, how you got into real estate.
You got it. Hey, you guys, Tricia Turner here. I am a real estate broker in Houston, Texas. Been in real estate since 1992. Been with every big box company out there, Remax, Keller Williams, Gary Green, Coldwell Banker, and some discount ones. And then I opened my own brokerage 4 years ago. And the sole purpose of that was I wanted to create a culture and an environment where I could just hang out with my friends and we could do our own thing and keep all of our money and make a difference in the world. And it grew like crazy. And I had 50 agents within 6 months and having to hire staff and everybody under the sun. And I was still in production. And it went really fast. And then I met Michael Reese and Jay Kinder in 2017. And of course joined NAEA, the National Association of Expert Advisors, and that's where I met Matt and everyone else and in that organization, and then switched my independent brokerage over to an EXP branch office in October of 2018. And with all of that, once having my own brokerage and kind of seeing the business model there, then the EXP model, and then where is the best way to make it profitable as a broker owner, former broker owner, and now a team leader, the numbers all have to make sense. And so formed a mega team within my EXP branch office about 6 months in, and we're growing like crazy. So I have about 26 agents right now. We're on target to do 250 units this year with 75 million in production. So we are 75 million in volume. So we're super busy and making a difference. Big time.
Wow, 250 units. That's awesome.
It
is really.
It's crazy because it's like when you look back, like when I had my independent brokerage, we had to do 16 units a week at least for it to be profitable. And so you add that up over a year, that's a lot of business coming in, and you don't really realize it until you're running numbers at the end of the year. You're like, holy crap, that's a lot of money that went in and out of the brokerage, And so, but when an independent brokerage, the business model is so different, and now the industry is so disruptive. I'm so thankful for making that switch because I met you and I met everybody that we collaborate with, and it's like, man, there's strength in numbers. We're going to do great and mighty things. We already are, and I can't even imagine what the next 2 to 5 years are going to bring.
I love it. And you were talking a little bit too. I mean, even before we jumped on, we were talking about technology and just leveraging that technology. And how do you find, though, in a world full of technology with all of the distractions that are always around us, the one thing that I feel like is really impressive is that, you have children, family, you spend time with them, you block out that time, but then you're also producing. Are you still, by the way, are you still actively in production, or are you running?
I am. I'm My goal for the 2020 is to get me out of production by the end of this year, because when I opened the brokerage again, it was just for us to have a small place. It was going to be just a boutique operation, but then it started growing like crazy. And then I was in production and everybody was like, there's no way you're going to be able to run that brokerage that big and stay in production. You're going to run yourself ragged, which I did. But, you know, it's like, kind of when you know that you're making a difference in the world and you see, you know, the numbers of real estate agents. So the average real estate agent only sells 4 to 6 homes a year and they make less than $40,000 a year. But I never believed that because I'm a hustler and I always have been. So it's like, I didn't really believe that was true until I opened my own brokerage. And I did 1099s at the end of the first year. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is true. You know, it's very few that are in that top producing category. And so that became like an obsession of more or less helping the agent and coaching and training them and being there to help them. And so it's like, I look at it as though I raised my hand and I said I was going to do it. And I'm one that's like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm committed. I'm all in. And it may, you know, run me ragged right now, but you know what? That's temporary. It's like we're constantly moving forward to get to our destination. And the destination is to get me out of production. And I will, because once I am out of production, I can be laser focused on being there, you know, 24/7 to help them.
I love it. I love
it. It's a full plate though, for sure, you know?
All right. Well, so for everyone that's watching, I mean, what is the infrastructure? So like the team that you have currently, is it like, do you have an operations or sales manager, and then do you have agents and then inside sales and then admins? Like, how do you have it all broken down?
I do. So basically with the EXP model, it was almost like a do-over, quite honestly, because when I had my independent brokerage, again, I was the top producer in the brokerage. And so I primarily was working with sellers and just handing out buyer leads and taking a referral fee. So the team model within EXP is very similar. And so it was kind of like a do-over. So again, I don't work with buyers. Of the 26 agents, the bulk of them work with buyers. They're buyers agents. And then there's about 6 that do listings with me. We also have 2 transaction coordinators. We have a listing manager. We have a marketing director. And then we have an ISA as well. So we have a full, and then of course we have a videographer and photographer and cleaning crew. We have and a moving truck. So it's like we have all of those things in place, because every year you got to have a goal. You know, what was your goal? And so 2 years ago, it was like, one of my goals was a moving truck. I wanted us to have a moving truck. Well, we do. And so now one of the goals this year is to take over another market. We have an opportunity to take over a lake community. And so we are making headway in there. It's about an hour and a half away. And I now have 2 full-time agents in there in that community. And so it's super cool. So the moving truck's there this week, which is awesome.
Nice. Yeah. When did you get the moving truck? Have you had it for a while?
The moving trucks, I'm in its 2nd year now.
Okay. And has that been like has that been a big value add, you feel like, for, I would imagine.
You know, because for our clients get to use it for free. So it's a mobile billboard because it's fully wrapped. And I was with people yesterday and they used it just getting their listing ready, getting their stuff out of their house and moving it to storage. They use the moving truck. So it saves them time. And as long as it's not booked for somebody else, they can keep it for 2 or 3 days. It's been the biggest investment, one of the best investments I've ever made. I would highly recommend it for people.
I love that. Yeah. So as far as the whole process, and of course, I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there right now, a lot of uncertainty. How are you doing as far as kind of avoiding a lot of that? Are those conversations coming up? Are people sort of concerned about moving because of, you know, whether it's losing jobs or rates? I mean, what have you been noticing kind of across the board, you know, within the calls and people you've talked to?
Sure. So here in Houston, I believe that I don't think we got it as bad as a lot of people do. You know, we've got friends in New York and a lot of places that got hit really hard. Here, I think we really didn't. But I'm a big believer in the cup is overflowing. I don't ever see the cup half empty. I'm not a what-ifer. I've never been a what-ifer. And so I'm never like, what if we get coronavirus? What if these people don't want to? I'm not going to go there, because it's like, why even, you know, let your mind focus on something, A, that you don't even know if it's going to happen, and B, it's so negative. And so people often describe me as living in la la land. And it's like, you know what? I would rather live in la la land than the land of what if. And so as soon as that virus came along, like here in Houston, when it hit, it was spring break for our kids in school. So literally they were out of school for spring break. They were supposed to go back to school, and then boom, coronavirus hit. Well, I'm a mom with 3 kids. 2 of my kids are still in school, high school, but still they're in school. So structure was immediately disrupted. And I have an office. So it's like, holy crap, what is this? One of my kids, he's 19, he has Down syndrome and autism, and he also has abnormal lungs. And so as soon as that COVID crap hit, there was that threat to him. If gets into our house, if any of us get sick and get around him, it could kill him 100%. But again, I'm not going to be one that lives in fear. I'm going to do things cautiously, and I'm going to do the right things in the right order, and I'm just going to do the right things, and I know that we're going to be okay. So literally when the coronavirus hit, most of the agents here in the office, and we've got about over 50 agents that come in and out of the office. Most of them weren't coming in. We closed the office like we were supposed to do, but the marketing director and I were in here every single day in the whole month of April during everyone's shutdown. And we were like, things were on hold, but we created a whole new marketing plan. We brought in systems. We were like a chemist. It was like we were on one demo after another. We just utilized that downtime to erupt, because it's like, okay, we can't go on appointments right now. We certainly aren't calling people, seeing if they want to sell their house right now, because they're worried about dying, and so we're not going to go there. We called everybody just to check on them. We called on our past clients and had that human touch with everybody. But outside of that, it was all about creating an amazing marketing thing to launch May 1st when we started to come back out of it. And so we did. And so there was a lot of people that, a lot of agents here in Houston that sat back, they stopped working, they stopped getting up, they stopped their morning routine. And I'm a big regimented like robot on the morning routine. And so nothing changed in our lives. If anything, I got up a little earlier because we had a full plate of stuff we had to get done, because it was like everything had to be ready for May 1st, ready to launch. And it was, and we have taken over market share like crazy. But when you utilize that downtime, we could have retreated like a lot of people did and what if, and sat in front of the TV and waited for something bad to happen. But we were like, no, we're going to be prepared that it doesn't matter what happens. There's still going to be people that have to buy or sell their house, because there's still going to be divorce. There's still going to be job changes. There's going to be the things that life changes. 85% of real estate transactions are based on a life change. So those things are still going to happen. You're only talking about 15% that may not sell. So when you look at the numbers like that, we got to be prepared for this. And when people are sleeping, we're out hustling. And so we actually have taken over a lot. We didn't skip a beat. In real estate, it's like you get paid, 30, 60, 90 days for your actions today. So if those real estate agents took the month of April off, I don't know how their June and July are going to look, but our June and July is stacked. And so, Houston was affected somewhat, but really, I think for us, we weren't. We were out there still. It's a weird world, and we're having to wear masks, and we're having to wear gloves, and, people are keeping their distance a little bit. But again, it's 2020. It's a whole new decade. It hasn't been right from go. As soon as 2020 hit, we've just been one weird thing after another. And so I was even thinking about it this morning. I'm like, I'm kind of anxious about the end of 2020. Like, I can't wait for it to end, because I hope we come back to some kind of normalcy next year where there's more human touch, So for us, real estate here is on fire. Like, the numbers that we're doing right now are stuff we haven't seen since like 2013 and 14, when we were in like a crazy market. We're in one now. It's awesome.
I love it. Well, and for everyone that's watching, everything that she just told you is extremely applicable to whether you want to start a business, whether you're thinking about, and it doesn't even need to be real estate, it can be anything. I mean, all of those concepts, and I love that you said that you spent that time building out a marketing strategy. We actually did something very similar. I mean, we literally built our own CRM. We built our own, I know we were talking about that before, and I actually had to learn coding, which, I mean, I'm a terrible
Wow.
coder. But I had to learn and, figure out some of the different languages. And luckily I had delegating to the right person, Milton, who he's basically our chief officer of operations. He did a lot of the coding and then helped me kind of figure out where we wanted things to go. But I used that time to build something new, to build something that was a disruptor.
Game
And
changer.
yeah, and not allow myself to get distracted with everything that was, because it's so easy to get sucked into whatever's going on TV and the doom and gloom, or so just staying laser beam focused. And it's funny because when you said La La Land, it like literally just like triggered in my head. I'm like, I love La La Land. Like that'd be the place to stay, because you're staying focused and just looking straight ahead, which is great.
And here's the deal. It's like, because of the size of our team, and I have a lot of agents that I'm in production. So it's like my schedule is stacked. My phone goes off all day long. I'll come out of a listing appointment and I'll have 26 text messages to answer to. So I'll literally park somewhere for like 30 minutes responding to 26 text messages. And so I knew I had the marketing things in my head that I wanted us to do, because it was literally a matter of putting together like 4 systems and making like the mother load. And I knew it was going to be time consuming and super complicated. And so my schedule wasn't allowing it. I already get up at 4 a.m. There's not enough time. I didn't have any. So when that thing hit, it literally forced us to stop. And it was a silver lining. I look at it as a silver lining, because there's no way in the world we would have been able to stop for 30 days like that and just sit in here in my office and just be on demo and trying things out, because I'm a big researcher. It's like when we had to do a whole new CRM. I mean, we launched like 4 things into one. And so it's like, you can't screw that up. One false move and it messes it all up. And when are we going to get this time again? Hopefully we're not. And so it was critical that we did the right things in the right order and then had it ready to launch. And so for us, it's like, oh my gosh, we're great. We're not grateful that people got sick at all, but we're grateful for that time that we were able to utilize to launch this, because it's been a game changer for us. But, when COVID hit, and then things started easing up a little bit, that now we have all this rioting going on. And so for, most people, even not just entrepreneurs and leadership people, most people in the world are easily distracted. 95% of the world are followers. Market research shows this. 5% are leaders. So when you know that already, and the people are getting sucked into the TV and you're watching all this rioting, I sit there and I think, how many of those people actually know what they're writing about? How many of these people actually care about what's going on, or they're just following? And so in real estate, it's like the average real estate agent sees, there's squirrel here, squirrel there. They're easily distracted. And to be successful in any business, real estate or whatever, as a self-employed entrepreneur, to be successful, if you're not self-disciplined and regimented, you're not going to be. You're always going to be in a reactive mode. You're always going to be struggling. And so for me, and here in the office, I am like a strict believer, and I'm constantly preaching about living by your calendar, the perfect day, creating the perfect week, and living by the morning routine. And I believe, and I call it a suit of armor, I believe if you get up every morning and you feed your mind, body, and soul before you ever walk out that door, before you ever check your email, before you ever get on social media, and you put on that suit of armor, nothing's going to break you. So you can turn the TV on and you can see these idiots doing rioting, and it's not going to phase you. You're going to continue on your path, on your road, and you're going to see the hospital reports and ICUs getting overrun. And yeah, it sucks and it's tragic, but you know what? I have a mission. I have a job to do. I got to take care of my family. I got to take care of these agents, and I got to continue on my path. And unfortunately, in this world, there's so many followers that they get distracted. They turn the TV on, or social media, and the next thing they're sucked in. There went an hour. There went 2 hours. Now their brain is all distorted. For one, they're running behind because they allowed the TV to suck them in. So now they're playing reactive all day long, and they're not focused. And it's like, you can't run a business if you're not focused and you're distracted, because we're already easily distracted as it is. We got enough distractions. We don't need to add to that. So the suit of armor is critical.
I love that. And it's so true, because I've even found myself where I'm getting sucked into like a conversation and there's been so many heated discussions and things going on, and I'm like, I'm trying to stay as far away from that as possible. And it's like, but at the same time, as for all of us, I believe it's something that we have to realize. We only have so much time in every single day. What are you doing with that time? Where are you investing that time? And what you're looking at, is that going to help grow you and make you a better person and help you move towards your goals? Or are you going to move further away from it? And that's what I always remind myself of. You know what? There's a lot of information out there. Some, some good, some bad, some all over the place. But that overload of consumption of information is not going to help me accomplish the goals I have at hand, especially if it's, all Facebook and controversial stuff.
Can you make a difference? No, you can't. You can't change the world. But if we all continue doing the right things like we're supposed to be doing every day, we can change the world. But it's allowing those distractions to disrupt our business. Then what? Your family suffers, your agent suffers, your production suffers, your goals. You totally lose sight of your goals. And so like for us with COVID, we basically had the month of April down. And so when we were resuming, and we do sales meetings every Monday morning, we're in the training room from 9:30 to 11:30, and it's mandatory. It's required if you're on the team. And so I am not an empathetic person by any means. It's a weakness of mine. And my mom was the type that, if you fell down, she'd be like, you're fine, get up. And so I'm the same way. And then of course I put on my suit of armor every day. So I'm real thick skinned. It's like, it's hard to make me cry. If you make me cry, that's a bad thing, because I'm not a real emotional person. I'm happy. And so I had to kind of become more of a human during that time, because I'm in the office every day. And so it's like, why aren't you guys here? Well, you know what? Not everybody's like me. They were scared, and they did have fear, and they were scared to be around people and be close to people. So I had to respect that and remind myself, we're all human. We're not all alike. And so I said, when you guys are comfortable to come back into the office, I'd love for us to resume our Monday meetings. We did them by Zoom in the meantime, so I continued Zooming them. And I literally just stopped Zooming them like 2 weeks ago, because I told them, okay, at this point it's June, and I think we're good now. I'm not going to Zoom it anymore. We're going to resume our normal routine, which was it's mandatory in the office every Monday. And so we do that. And every Monday we stay focused on our goals. And when we first got back in the office, one of the agents said, we were going over our goals for the rest of the year. And she said, well, I feel like we need to redo our goals because we basically lost a month. And I was like, no, we are not redoing our goals. We have to just hustle now. We got to make up that time. That's all. And that's what this new marketing thing's going to do. We're going to go past the goals. That is what we're going to do. And, I don't know what this world's going to hold. I know that it's an election year, and always things are volatile during an election year. This is the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. But we're not even at the election yet. It's only June. So it's like, I know. I don't know what July and August and September are going to be like. But I know if we allow that stuff to distract us, our businesses will suffer. And we need to stay on course. We got to stay on path. And I think now more than ever, people like you and people like me and people in our group that are leading, and we're like, we're not going to be what if. We're doing things, the right things. We're watching things every single day. We're studying the market every day so that we can guide our buyers and sellers and our agents. But we're not going to make crazy decisions. We're staying on course. And I think that that's critical. You have to do that. And if you don't get your mind right first thing in the day, you're just you're reactive and distracted all day long. Can't do it.
True. Yeah. And I mean, and I look at it as if you're staying in your lane, where you're, this is the lane that you're made for. This is where your focus needs to be. And this is what's going to drive the results. You said something, well, you said a lot of insightful things, but one of them was 4 a.m. wake up, which is phenomenal. Cause I mean, I have nights that I don't go to bed till 3 or 4, and I'm working, but it's like, I understand the absolute importance of having that time very early in the morning, because it allows you to get yourself into the right state of mind, but it also allows you to have that very limited distraction type of time. Do you feel that? Where you have limited distractions during that time?
Yeah. So for me, and I've been getting up at 4 for about 20 years now, and it started when I had kids. My oldest is 22. And so I've always been self-employed. I've been, since I was 22 is when I started working on my own. And so for me, once my son was born, it was like, okay, I'm a new mom. And, if you wake up when they wake up, then your day is like already, if you're in reactive because they cry, you're tending to them. And I've always worked out. And so I've always started my day working out. Well, when it was just one child, I could still go to the gym, get up, take my kid and put him in the kids club and go to the gym. When my second child was born, and he was special needs. And so he was so complicated, the gym wouldn't allow him to come there because they were like, it's a liability. We can't have him in the kids club. And so at that, and he was born in 2000. And so at that point on, and he was so medically challenged, my life literally revolved around him and worked. And then we were just running all the time. And so at that point is when I implemented this 4 a.m. thing, because he was up a lot and I was not going to not work out. So I had to find a time when everybody was sleeping that would work out for me. And so I get up at 4 a.m. and that's when I would work out at 4:30 every single morning. And then the kids would start getting up and I would be in their morning routine. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago that I implemented my perfect morning routine. So always had worked out, but then about 2010, I went through a divorce in '08. I was a lender at that time too. 8, 9, and 10, I had put my real estate license inactive and I was a lender. I had been for 6 years, but the mortgage industry crashed in 8. I went through a divorce in '08 and I, of course, mom of 3, one of those a special needs child. And so it was very stressful. And it was almost 3 years of like not knowing if you're having a closing or not, losing more deals than you're closing, and in debt up to my butt, and just living on credit cards one summer and just really in a dark place. And I am a big faith person, and so I started going to Lakewood Church. Quite honestly, Joel Osteen's on TV, and I started reading the Bible, and I would read a scripture every morning to kind of get my mind right, and then it would turn into a chapter. And then I had to go through a period of forgiveness. I had went through this divorce, and I hated my ex-husband, just absolutely hated him, and I needed to forgive him because it was consuming me. It was like eating my soul. And so I found this book from Joyce Meyer on forgiveness, and I would get up every morning, and I had to time block it because I knew my kids were getting up at 6:30. So I would get up, work out for an hour, and I read for an hour. And so I would read a chapter in Joyce Meyer's book on forgiveness, and then I read a chapter in the Bible. And I ended up reading the Bible in its entirety, and I read Joyce Meyer's book on forgiveness in its entirety. And her book was the first book I'd ever read in its entirety in my adult life. And for me, that was huge because I'm easily distracted. And so I, usually read a chapter or two, maybe half of a book, and then I'd move on to another book. I'd lose interest in it. And so for me, I was laser focused on finishing this book because it was helping me. I actually was feeling peace and able to hear his voice or whatever, or hear his name and not be incited to riot, And so for me, it made such an impact in my life. It went from after I finished her book, then I started reading books on leadership and growing your business, because then it was 2010 and I was ramping up my real estate career again because I wasn't doing lending anymore. I was not liking it. And so that's when I went back into real estate full time and just started consuming content and reading every morning. Started with scripture. I'm not a big writer. I used to be before kids. And I know The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod talks about writing, and I've read that book too. But for me, it's a struggle, and I think it's because my brain is always going. For me to sit still and get creative and just pour it out on paper, it's hard. It's a challenge. It really is. And doing yoga is a challenge because it's a stillness, and I'm not good at that. And so I believe, you shouldn't force yourself to do things that you're not enjoying, especially if it's during the time that you're supposed to be strengthening yourself. And so I enjoy reading and learning. I'm obsessed with it. So rather than, time block 10, 15 minutes to write, I just use extra time to read. And so that became my miracle morning. It was like, okay, I'm going to get up every morning in gratitude. I thank God that I'm alive every day, and I go through my thankfulness with him, and I throw some prayers out every single day. I pray for our entire world every day. And then I read a section of the Bible, depends. Sometimes it's Proverbs, sometimes it's a different book. And then I go into a self-help book or leadership or sales skills, something like that. And I am so OCD, I won't start another book until I finish that one, because that was like such a huge accomplishment for me to be able to read a book in its entirety and not lose interest. And so I do. And I have now read, oh my gosh, hundreds of books. My home office is full of books. Here is full of books. But it changes my life, because it has changed my life, because every morning I get up, I make this caffeinated water drink. It's 32 ounces. I go in my home office. I'm by myself in there. You know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep. It's dark. It's quiet. My phone does not distract me. I don't check my email. I don't get on social media. I don't even look at that. I don't want to see that stuff because I'm not ready to deal with it. I'm not ready to be distracted. And so I go in my office, I read my devotion for the day, I pull my Bible out, I read that for the day, and then I go into my book. And then when I'm done reading those 3 things, I'm usually about halfway done with my 32 ounces of water. Then I'm out in my living room, and then I work out for an hour. And by the time I've done with both of those, it's about 2 hours. I then go get ready for work. My family's still asleep because I get up at 4. I go get ready for work. And while I'm in the bathroom getting ready, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to Tom Ferry. I'm listening, to Jay or Mike. I'm listening to something more the whole time I'm getting ready. So by the time I come out of my bathroom and I'm ready for the day, I have consumed so much content. I've got my mind, body, and soul right. There's not much that can break me. Not much at all. And it's like when you focus on that stuff during the day, I mean, number one, you're calendared and you know what your day is going to be like. And in real estate and in any business, if you get up and the first thing you do is check your email, suppose you got fired during the night by one of your clients, suppose you lost a listing, suppose something bad happened. You have now set the tone of your day because you did not fill your mind with positivity. You allowed negativity to get in your mind right away. And so you're probably not going to go read. If you're going to work out, you're going to be distracted during your workout because that's going to be on your mind. And so you have not protected yourself from that stuff. Same thing with getting on social media. And I tell this to everybody. It's like so many people on social media portray this beautiful life and they have this great life. And half of them are in debt, up to their butts. Half of them hate their spouses or hate their kids. They hate their job, but they play this beautiful image like they have a perfect life. And then people watch that and they feel inferior. They think their life sucks. And I wish I had a job like that. I wish I drove that kind of a car. You know what? No, you have to be grateful for what you have because half of those people are lying. So it's like, don't get up and get on social media and start already thinking that you suck and that you're a loser because everybody out there is great. We're all different and you have to get your mind right before you can go there so that you can look at that stuff and be like, yeah, whatever, but so many people get on there and they get distracted and they do feel bad about themselves or they do set their day to have a down day. And there's enough Debbie Downers in this world. We got to be the people that are out there lifting each other up, building each other up, and you can't do it if your mind is weak.
That's why you got to put on the armor. I love that. Great thing about it is like you can actually envision yourself putting on armor and you're associating that with positive tasks. And it's funny that you brought up Hal Elrod because I'm trying, Hal, if you're watching, probably is. I'm trying to get him on my podcast. So
are you?
I would love for him to come on because I think he has so much to share. I met him at the Exponential Growth Summit. I want to say it's back in 14 or 15. I can't remember what year he was there, but I mean, his book was a game changer. And at first, when I wasn't in the right state of mind to consume it, I'm like, oh, Miracle Morning, that's so corny. And then I went and read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this book's amazing. I mean, it's because it unpacks everything. And I have found too myself personally where I like everybody, I have the electronics edition or the electronic addiction. So I'll have times where I'm looking at my phone and going through Facebook and I'm like, wow, and like sometimes it's the first thing I do when I wake up. Yep. I've been very conscious about the actions that I take when I wake up because you really can determine the outcome of your day. Now, yeah, there are going to be some days that are going to be absolutely just will destroy you. But if you build yourself up enough in the beginning, those days won't be so bad. I mean, and I tell all my inside sales reps to say, look, not every day is going to be Christmas. There are going to be days that you're going to wake up and you're not going to want to do what you've set out to do. And those are the days more than ever that you need that routine, because ultimately routine sets you free. And a lot of times people look at a routine and they say, oh, that routine's tying me down. It's holding me back. There's other things I want to do. I want freedom to choose. Well, that's great. You can have your own freedom, but the freedom that you have is going to set you up. It's not going to set you up for success. It's going to set you up for failure. That's why if you have those routines set in place, I mean, and I'm really glad you talked on that, because that in itself, I feel like a lot of people don't realize that some of these habits that we form first thing throughout the day really shapes what the outcome of the day is going to be.
Well, and I just, like I said, I don't really know where this world is going to go. And so, there's days, of course, when, Corona, like I work a lot, and quite honestly, I get up at 4, but when I have a heavy project, like especially when we were working on that marketing thing, when I set my mind on something that we're going to finish something, if I know my schedule is jam packed, I get up at 3. And so I was up at 3 today. I was up at 3 yesterday. The last couple of weeks I've had to be up at 3 because I have a full plate right now. I have a lot of stuff I'm working on. And so I need that extra hour because there isn't any more during the day. I go to bed somewhere between 11 and 12 at night. So it's like, I can't sleep any less, but I can get up at 3 and I can function at 3. So 3 to 4, I use to work on whatever project that I'm working on so that it does not disrupt my morning routine. Because most people, when I talk about this, they're like, well, why don't you just not work out that day? Or why don't you just not do your reading? And I'm like, because that's stuff I enjoy. And the minute you start giving up stuff that you enjoy, then your life becomes what you don't like. And that happened to me for a short time several months ago when I made the transition over to EXP. I guess it's been about a year then. When I made that transition, it was really complicated and a lot of moving parts, and my schedule was the busiest it had ever been. And I did allow that to happen. I allowed, I'd miss a workout here and there. I'd miss a reading. And I found that I was resenting the day. I would get up in the morning, and if I didn't have time to work out, I'd look at my calendar, because I have Google send me an itinerary every morning at 5. And so I'd look for my calendar for the day, and I'd be resentful. I'd be like, I wish I wouldn't have said yes to this. I wish I wouldn't have said yes to that. And, it gets back to creating your perfect day. And so I had to do it, and I've always done it. And I had gotten off track. And it happens to all of us. And so I just locked myself in my home office on a Saturday morning. I was in there, I got done working out, went into my home office. I was in my home office by 6 a.m. I didn't come out of there till about 2 in the afternoon. And my family knew not to disturb me. I was working on a project. The project was my mind. And I had to get my mind back right, because it was like I didn't have my perfect day anymore, because my perfect day has always consisted of, working out in the mornings, reading, feeding my mind, body, soul, being here in the office somewhere between 7 and 8, and then getting my office here on task. What are we doing? I have a whiteboard. I'll show you. I have a whiteboard. This is the top 5. You have to have your top 5 things every day. This is from yesterday. Haven't written today's, but this is on every day. Like I have this, I come in here before I even start my day, I'm writing it down. What are my top 5 things? These things have to get done today. And I'm going to go write down that list. And sometimes they're in order of importance. Let me see. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes I'll scribble a note on here. I'll get a call and they'll be like, holy crap, this thing just got added onto my top 5. Have to get these things done. So lists are extremely important, but my day has always been having my perfect morning routine, coming here to the office, getting my top 5 on my board, and then I time block from 9 to 12 every morning. On Mondays, we're in the training room, so I'm already time blocked out in there. But Tuesday through Friday, I'm time blocked out for follow-up. I'm time blocked out for lead gen. That's when I focus on the things that move the needle, your high leveraged activities. And then after 12 is when I go on appointments. And the perfect day for me is appointments at 1, 3, and 5. It could be a listing appointment. It could be a networking thing. It could be a podcast like this, or it could be a recruiting interview, but it's one of those. And what had happened was I allowed my schedule to get so busy. I lost that 1, 3, and 5. It was literally stick an appointment wherever you can see a blank, because there wasn't any blank. And right. Again, it's us being self-disciplined and recognizing, hey, my life is totally out of balance here, and this is not the life I want to live. I am not seeing my family. I'm coming home at like 9 or 9:30 every night, and I'm leaving at the crack. I don't even see them, So it's like, why am I working so hard to spend time away from them? There's something going wrong here. And so I had to lock myself up for a little while for that day and really get back to what makes me happy. And then I realized, you know what? I hadn't been to my volunteer activities in a while, so I got back involved in that. I got not missing a routine. I'm not missing my workout. I'm not missing my reading, and I'm getting back on my morning routine, and nothing's going to take me off of it. And it doesn't. It's like, you know what? That's why we have, when we get into different production levels, we have people that work for us, and it's like, I'm going to get this stuff off of my plate because I do want to go to the lake with my family. I like going on the lake. That's a fun thing, and that's making good memories, and we work hard so that we can do those things. But if you're not having the structure and you're not having the perfect morning routine and your perfect day, you're always reactive and you don't get to do those things. So that's the one of the biggest things I would tell anybody is to get those things down, get your disciplines down, get your things, your top 5 that you got to do every single day, and make sure that these things get done. Don't put it off till tomorrow, because you know what? The day tomorrow, that's not on the calendar. Someday and tomorrow are not on the calendar. So it's like, don't create those. You said you were going to do it today. Do it today. Today is Wednesday. Do it today. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And especially being a business owner, it's so funny because so many people say, I got into business because I want to make my own schedule and I want freedom. And well, if you do that, you're probably not doing as well as because a lot of times people look at the end results and they're like, oh, wow, they must have an amazing life. And sure, after you've built out your infrastructure, your rhythms, your routines, your process, the freedom does come within the journey. But it's so funny because I'll watch some of these entrepreneurs come in and literally, I got into this business for freedom. I got in this business to make my own schedule. Okay, well, you're always answering to someone. And if you are, I've even had to explain this to family members. If you're the owner of the business, you still have to answer to the people that are essentially investing in your business, whatever it is.
Yes.
So the reason why I bring that up is because what you're talking about with routines, it's amazing because you're starting your day, you're choosing the ultimate path. You're not letting the path decide for you. You're saying, this is what I'm going to stick to. This is where my focus is. And you go from there. And I there's a saying where your attention flows, your energy goes, I believe is the saying. So, yeah. And I believe that so much because I've noticed that when I focus on all of the wrong things, I find every challenge, I don't like to use the word problem, but I will use it for this. I find every problem in my way and I focus on it and it expands and it becomes the monster that I literally cannot slay because I've sat there and all I've done is I focus on all the bad things. So focusing on those positive things and obviously realizing there's going to be challenges along the way. But again, you come in prepared for it because you're in the right state of mind. Physically, that's been my biggest challenge is like blocking out the time for the gym. I'm the most inconsistent gym goer. So
really?
I'm working on that. That is actually that's something that I'm really focused on because what will happen is, how you're talking about you get involved in a project. And so I'll wake up and I'll just start on the project right away. And I'm like, why am I doing that? That's still something that I've had to kind of pull back on and realize I'm not doing what's going to give me the most positive impact and help me. So
it's like, especially as volatile as things are, again, there's been days where it's a challenge for me. It's like, I'm tired, I'm weary. And, thank heavens there's people in my life. Chuck Fazio is a dear friend of mine, and I can text him. We're both of us are very faith-based. And so I can text him at any time and be like, hey, I'm feeling weary. Can we jump on a call? And he knows the right scripture to say to me. And he'll be like, absolutely, tell me when. And so to have those people in my life is such a blessing. My husband is great and my kids and all that, but to have people outside of my immediate family that I can turn to anytime when I'm like, hey, because they know what we're going through, because we're all in this together as business owners and we're all leading because we raised our hand. It's like you can raise your hand and commit to something, but half the people that do that, they're not committed. They'll go halfway and then they find, wow, this is harder than I really thought. I think I'm not going to do this. And it's, for me, it's like there is no turning back. I said I was going to do it. And Michael Reese and I had this conversation before, and He was like, it's like a bridge. You have to think of it like a bridge. So like when we were switching my company from an independent brokerage to EXP, it's like I'm in the independent brokerage. That was a comfort zone. It was comfort. It was running. Everything was fine. It was profitable. We were making money. It was a well-oiled machine. But that's not the way of the future. And so when I see the other side of the bridge and I see what's over there, it's like I want to go over there. So, and me, I always kind of picture like an actual bridge over a canyon because I'm scared of heights.
Right.
Terrified of heights. And so for me, I always picture like your scariest point is right in the middle of that bridge when you're like, holy crap, I'm going to fall and I'm scared to death, but I got to keep going, And so when you're building a business like we are and you're leading people, if you're on that bridge and you're at that highest point right there, yeah, you're scared. And for me, I'd be crawling across it because I'd be so scared. But if I saw people behind me and they're following me, you can't retreat. You got to go. Because number one, when you get over there, how good it's going to feel. That's glory on the other side. That's the goal, is to get over there. And so many people get halfway across and then they stop and they retreat because it gets too hard and it gets too scary and some things are uncomfortable. And you hear that old saying, it's going to get uncomfortable before it gets better, and it's so true. And so many people stop right there and there's obstacles you didn't know that were going to be there. And it's like, you just got to kick that sucker off the bridge. You cannot allow these obstacles to stop you from glory, because it's like the glory is so good and it and you're so close. So you just have to continue. And for us right now, it's like here in our market, especially, I see it like we're on the bridge and I see glory. It's very close. And it's like, it's such a great feeling. It's an enormous feeling and it strengthens you to keep going. It's like you're going that one step closer to the bridge where you could almost get the end of it, And so it gives you that second wind. And so I think when you're leading people, you have to lead by example. Number one, you got to be in the trenches and you have to lead by example. And when I'm paying attention to people, if they haven't done something that has impressed me and they haven't been successful at something, I'm not going to pay much attention to them. I'm going to respect them, of course, but I'm not going to pay much attention to them. And I think there's too many people in our world that are raising their hands saying they're going to lead people and then they quit. They quit and they don't finish what they committed to. And then everybody wants to be a life coach. And it's like, I tell all the people that I talk to, I'm like, pay attention to who you're paying attention to. Look and make sure that they have some kind of success in their background. Because to be successful, it requires so much discipline and so much commitment. And those two things, without those two things in your life, success is not coming. It's just not. Not forever. You may get some short-term success, but not forever.
And you unpacked something too that was really powerful. And be willing. You said get in the trenches. I 100% agree with that, because then a lot of times, for example, when we started I told you all the new business ventures that we started calling on, I jumped in and made some of those calls at first, and I had my guys listening because they're sitting there because I don't want them to say, oh, well, you're back in your ivory tower, so to speak, and you're not making the calls yourself, so you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. And be comfortable being uncomfortable. That was one of the biggest takeaways I had from Michael Reese.
It is, you know what it is? It's because he's such a strategist, and he believes there's a solution for every problem. And hope is not a strategy. You hear him saying all the time. And so it's like when you get to spend so much time with the people that we spend time with, it's like, I'm so grateful to have all of them and you in my life, because it's a life changer. And when our lives are changed, we change the lives of others. And I believe the more of that we can put into this world, the better. That's how we're going to make a difference. That's how we're going to change the world. Not by getting involved in fighting back, against evil. It's continuing doing the right thing and making a difference in the lives of others. That's how we're going to make a difference.
So true. Mm-hmm. Well, Tricia, I could go on for hours, but I mean, I know knowing you probably have blocked out down to the minute. But I will tell you, this was so powerful. You shared so many amazing takeaways, and I feel like you're just becoming like a total pro on camera, because I constantly see you, whether it's interviewing a local business owner or I'm sure that was stepping out of comfort zone too, a little bit, because no
A
one's
little bit, but
yeah,
again, it's like these business owners, I feel for them because we're all business
yeah,
owners. So it's like they're suffering. We got to help these people, and it all really comes down to just doing the right thing and being there to help others. Totally, no matter what industry they're in.
yeah, so true.
Mhm.
Well, guys, for everyone watching, anyone that wants to reach out to Tricia, would they just find you on Facebook?
Yeah,
Easiest way to.
everyone can find me on Facebook, or you can go to triciaturner.work. That's the
Oh,
easiest way, and it's spelled Tricia, triciaturner.work. And you can schedule a call there. All my links are there for Facebook and Instagram and everything. And I'm here to help anybody. If you want to have me to send you a big book list, I can do that too. I do that for people all the time.
you know what though? That's what everyone loves. So I got the website right there, triciaturner.work.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, for
I
anybody
only
that wants,
done with one book that's one of my favorite books. Everyone should read it. It's called The Energy Bus. You got to
I
read
I
it.
don't know about that book, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
you
read.
have to read it. Let me see if it's in here with me. It's not in here
Okay.
with me. It's at home. I've read that book probably 3 times. I read it. I buy books. I like the books in my hands, and I read them in their entirety. And I highlight things as I'm reading it that are impactful and that are like really, I love it. And then I go back and I read those highlighted things over and over and over. And the Energy Bus is one of those where it's hard to put down. That one, it was like, oh man, when my time block period be up, I'm like, dang it, I want to read more. So everyone should read that one. That's a good one.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tricia, thank you so much for coming on, and for everyone that's tuning in, same channel, same place next week. And we will see you guys here. See you again soon. Have an amazing week. Make it the best week ever. Again, Tricia, thank you
Yeah.
again.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.